The next session is going to be very interesting, and I would like to start by asking how many founders or founders wannabes we have in this room. Just raise your hands. Okay, how many of you think that it's very easy to be a founder, because that's what you naturally do? You just wake up and you're a founder all of a sudden. Okay, how many of you think that it's very difficult to be a founder and it's like hell and going back in circles all the time? Okay, 2 people, you and me. We know how it feels. So the next session is going to be fireside chats. And as we just discovered, we know that being a founder is not a very easy and smooth ride. There are a lot of challenges, there are a lot of setbacks. And Mintos, who I'm pretty certain all of you guys are aware of, have faced its fair share of difficulties, starting with COVID, the Russia-Ukraine war, which has significantly impacted the financial markets, and it also created uncertainty for investors. However, who doesn't like a good challenge? And as all the founders that are here, you know that you have to persevere and to push forward. So Mintos not only stabilized, but emerged much stronger, evolving into Europe's leading platform for passive income investing. And I would like you to give a very, very welcome and warm round of applause to the co-founder of Mintos, Martin Sulte, and founder of Future Education, Sebastien Toupy. Please give it up. I know you have it in you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're doing great, that you still have a lot of energy. Day 2 of Tech Chill 2025 in the afternoon. Super happy to be here. My name is Sebastien. I have the pleasure to be with Martin here on stage today to talk a little bit about resilience. So before we dive into the topic, Martin, would you mind to introduce yourself a little bit? And for the few people in the audience that wouldn't know you and your story, tell us a bit about what you do at Mintos.
Yeah, sure. I'm Martin. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Mintos. One thing, actually, I just checked when I was coming on the stage. It's been 4 years since I was on Tech Chill last time, and very interesting years. But obviously, at Mintos, what we do, we are investment platform. So if you are not investing yet, I suggest you start investing. You can use other platform than Mintos, but please just start investing. As an investment platform, we are offering all sorts of different assets. So you can invest in the same loans where we come from. You can invest in fractional bonds. You can invest in real estate. You can invest in ETFs. You can park your money with smart cash. We are building out also now stocks and crypto so that you have like all in one platform where any kind of reasonable kind of asset is present and you can invest in that. That's what we do. Going like this, rough times, going like this now again, and very excited to be here and have a conversation with you.
Very good. Well, it's great to hear that you're back here after 4 years away, and I think 4 intense years from the little chat that we've had before. So we'll try to cover some of that for the audience here. Also, really love the comment about everybody should start investing, kind of regardless of the platforms to some extent. I think we had someone here on stage yesterday from Lightyear that had a very similar comment. It's like we're not really fighting other competitors in the industry. We're more fighting banks and people not investing rather than some other competing companies. So quick introduction from my side as well. So my name is Sebastien. I'm based out of Tallinn in Estonia, running a company called Future Education that's helping young people in the education space. Very excited to be running this session, particularly when the Tech Chill team asked me, because it's about resilience. It's about like working through challenges. It's about coming on the other end stronger. And I think it's very easy, as we've discussed, to have founders on stage that are on this amazing curve where everything is going well and up into the right and kind of only highlight those moments. The reality for all the founders in the room, I'm sure you know already. For those of you who are just starting out, it's definitely not like that. Most of the time, it's a challenge. It's really hard. Nobody wants to give you money. People don't give you the time of day or stage time for that matter. And only when you're really successful, then people kind of invite you again. So here we're here to talk a little bit about what happens in the challenging moments and how you actually build a strong company there. So I would like to kind of start with what are some of the key moments or key challenges since you were last here that have really kind of defined the trajectory of Mintos, if you can highlight a couple.
I think one of the first ones was really, look, when you're building the company and it all goes well and it's really just you're building strengths up on the strengths and it goes like this, all the numbers. And then in our case, it was a shock moment, which was COVID. So it came, and then all of a sudden, instead of hiring a lot of people, you actually have to let go people, and that was like boom in your face. Because obviously, kind of letting go people is the last thing you want to do. So you try to do everything else for that not to happen. But that was like, look, I'm like fairly, I would say, my personality, I'm fairly kind of stable in my approach to life, but I definitely remember at that moment it was like, okay, I don't know if I can swear, but it was like, like it's not going very well here. That was the first really moment when it's like boom in your face. Look, so we were really going like this, and obviously number of employees is not the key metric which you want to kind of look at, but still it just gives you an idea of the size of the company. So for instance, 2019, we are 60 people. Start of 2019, start of 2020, we are 220 people. I was like, boom, you're hiring like back and forth. And then from that, we basically scaled down to like 120 people in a very short period of time. So that was for sure kind of one of the defining moments in our history. A lot of things which we did. We thought that's not going to happen again. We went into the regulatory process, long process. And then comes kind of Russia war in 2022, and again, we just had to let go people. So those are two defining moments which I would say definitely shaped who we are at the company. And as I say, well, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, which like with the hindsight is easy to say because, well, we are stronger today, but obviously it was close to like not making it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I would like to kind of dissect that a little bit, right? We kind of mentioned like COVID and then the war and then regulatory challenges in the middle. And we're going to get into that so all of you kind of get to see that it's been a hard journey. But when that kind of COVID pandemic hits, right, a lot of business somewhat either gets stalled or goes away. What happens with you guys, right? With the co-founders and sort of with your investors, like how do the conversations go? How do you go about making the decision of letting go of people and who do you let go? Like what happens?
I think you definitely become this wartime CEO. So previously we were all about kind of leadership team alignment, like making that everyone is bought in. When really shit hits the fan. And in our case, it was like one of the metrics which we track is how much investments are made every day. So before COVID, it was about 10 million euros are invested every day. Comes COVID, and it all collapses to like 3 million a day. So instead of like thinking, okay, now we're gonna double or triple the business next year, and we were already like good like 10 million revenue. So we were looking like 25, 30 million revenue in 2020. And then you realize, wow, at best it's gonna be flat, but most likely it's gonna go down. And then you really become a wartime CEO, so zero-based budgeting, you cut everything, you go through the people, just see, because you know it, you're not gonna make it because you have the runway, what it is, and really just make like very quick decisions, very tough decisions, very deep cuts, and try to do it kind of one time, which we did, and that was actually, if anything, to the extent it's possible, we made good decisions at that moment.
Yeah. So you're talking about one time, I think maybe for some people in the audience as well, we've seen that a lot of companies that have struggled since like mid-2020 have had to have like several rounds of layoff, which I'm sure already making one is very unpleasant, but having to do it several times is even worse. What kind of prompted you to like cut so deep so early on, and how did some of those conversations go when you have to let go a huge percentage of the company?
I mean, it's easy. I'm very much kind of numbers guy. So you just look at the numbers and you see that instead of your, the cost base was something like 1.7 million a month, you have to cut to like 700, 800,000. And then just go from there.
Yeah. And then sort of moving on from that first like huge challenge to kind of the regulatory part. Can you give a bit of background to the audience on what that was and what was that so crucial for you guys?
Yeah, look, so we are an investment platform, so one way or the other, we were not regulated, so we didn't have a like clear regulatory setup how we operate, right? And then we went into the regulatory process with all the background of COVID. We went into the regulatory process in 2021, And with all the intention, we're gonna get the license in like a year's time. So that's already in the startup world, sounds like a lot. And guess what? We get the license end of 2023. And what happens during a regulatory process, which was like 2.5 years, is a regulator, understandably, but they don't want you to grow, expand, or anything. So you really have to manage your basically runway ambitions and just try to keep flat throughout that period. And just to make the matters more interesting, and look, I'm not trying to paint this kind of the worst kind of situation.
Of course.
There's plenty of companies which have been in a more struggle than us, but obviously on top of that, also we got the Russia war impact on us as well. When we, again, like you are going through the regulatory process, you are already doing as much as you can to keep it flat, but then all your revenue still falls down because there's some stupid people kind of doing things in Ukraine, right? Unfortunately, but also managed to do that, learn from or use the experience we had in COVID and build kind of from there throughout 2023. But look, all good stories, all kind of bad stories come to the end. So 2024 has been super exciting for us. So this is something which we wanted to get to and go through this kind of turmoil to where we are today.
So key highlights of last year, right? Like after struggling for 4 years straight and COVID, war, regulatory challenges, you kind of get regulated and then business is booming. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so as a regulated platform, so we could finally finish the licensing process. We can work in a very good kind of setup, and then we basically heads down from the same, again, I don't want to use necessarily number of employees, but that just kind of gives you the impression of how company is doing. So we were 120 people a year ago, now we are 180, so it's going like very nice in terms of the traction. So we expanded all across Europe. So also now actually talking with some of the investors, they come and say, like venture capital funds, they say, oh yeah, you most likely are kind of big in Baltics. I'm like, guys, like Baltics is like 5% of what we do. Actually, Germany is like 30% of what we do. Spain, we are big in the Italy, in France. All in all, we have like 600,000 retail customers who are using Mintos to invest. And we really pushed into those markets. Plus, we launched all these new products so that you can really have like one platform to invest in, which hopefully is Mintos. Yeah. But guys, if you are not investing, I'm happy that you invest also in other platforms. But Mintos obviously is a good choice as well.
Sure. I want to kind of talk a little bit about culture now. So we kind of talked about the resilience, kind of from the founder perspective, trying to keep the company afloat. Yeah. Cut where you need to so that the company survives and you can come back stronger later. What has had the impact of those kind of, huge events on the course of the company, and how did that change and evolve your culture?
It's obviously tested the culture, that's what I would say. From day one, we were very focused. So when I think about the company building and with the reverse engineering, one of the frameworks which I have adapted is you start with people, you focus on getting great people gonna build great product, and then only the great product gonna bring you great profits. So you have this framework of people, product, profit in that order. There are other ways to build a company, and you can do it. Otherwise, we decided, okay, this is a framework which actually makes sense. So we over-invested in culture, in hiring. So our hiring process already in early days was quite sophisticated with multiple touch points so that people see what is Mintos, we see who are the people and so forth. And then in those moments, it was like testing this culture, like what we have built, right? And it was very, to the extent I can say, kind of heartwarming when you basically say to people, hey, well, great, you left your job to join this rocket ship, but unfortunately we have to let you go. And obviously there are emotions, but then after a few hours they come to you and say, well, you actually did a good job of firing me. I'm like, well, this makes sense, right? It's not the happiest day. So that was definitely what tested, and we still, I think, treated people very well, both in COVID and Russia war. And then the other one was, look, when people come and say, hey, yeah, at Mintos you have this great culture, and we do. I mean, if you go on the Glassdoor or somewhere else, check like what is Mintos, like there's like a lot of like good reviews. But I always thought, like, what does it mean? I mean, yeah, well, every company has a good culture, right? It should be so. But then what really struck me is once we started rehiring, at some moment I just sat down and looked like, okay, we are 150 people, and how many of those are those who actually we fired and they are now rejoining? And guess what? How many? It's like 10%. Like 15, 60 people were those which we let go, and they were happy to come back to Mintos just because they like the Mintos. And we have one girl who has actually, unfortunately, we had to let go her twice, and she's now back and doing like very well at Mintos.
So what was said to her the second time around when she was let go?
Russia war again. So basically, we had to put on pause some of the initiatives with the new products, and unfortunately, we said, well, we cannot really. We're not going to invest in that. So.
She was determined she was going to work for you. So what is she doing now?
She's very good. She's in product. She's building one of the products which we have at Mintos.
Okay. I mean, for a lot of people in the audience, I don't know if you realize just kind of how amazing that is, that people will be so committed that they want to work with you, that even through hard times, you're able to let them go in a way that's as human as can be, and understanding of their situation, and that it's for business reasons and not that's anything personal, and done in a way that's good enough so that you kind of want to come back and still re-engage with the company and not have bad blood with them. I think that's something that a lot of companies can learn from. I've seen it with a few startups in Estonia as well that have struggled during a difficult period. Veriff being one of them, and then managed to actually get quite a few of those employees back as well as soon as they were able to hire them again. So that's something to keep in mind. We've talked about, has that inspired any other people? Have you had other founders that coming to you for advice when the times were difficult?
It was. We were one of the first to go through what some people say a right sizing, which obviously means just like letting people go, unfortunately. But we were one of the first who did this, not because of the crunch in the VC kind of basically space where the money was drying out and people could not raise. And in 2022, if you remember, and also in 2023, a lot of people actually had to let go some people. And through one connection or the other, they knew that we did a good job. It kind of feels strange to say that we did a good job letting people, but well, that's how we can phrase it. And they came to me and asking like, okay, how you did it. And even I went there and said, okay, this is a script. So you have the, conversations in the morning, you do announcement, then you do basically one-on-one conversations, you explain the situation, you give, okay, these are all the rewards and everything. So we had like a good setup. Yeah. I hope we're not going to use it again. But,
no, of course.
But we had a good script.
But you've also talked about like the importance of transparency and communication, right? Like I think we've had quite a few speakers on stage yesterday that mentioned that that was key. Whenever it's rebranding, whenever it's crisis management, like having a very straightforward, transparent and direct communication, especially when things go wrong, is quite important. It's easy to kind of keep on top of mind, but then how many companies actually do it, right? Like when it comes to those moments, how do you make the call when there's things that you know are going to be hard to swallow for the team, and yet you kind of make that let's say a priority? How does that work for the management team?
Again, it's about the culture, I guess. Like, look, we, me and the other co-founder, which is also actually also Martin, so we are Latvians, and actually many of you would not realize, but the Latvians are very direct culture. So when I used to study at for MBA, my best friends were Dutch people because they are more direct than Latvian people. So there's only one nation which is more direct than Latvians, and we are very direct. And my personality as well, I'm like very direct. I don't kind of sugarcoat or anything. I just here to say. And from day one, my approach has been, look, if I give more information to people, then they gonna be able to make better decision. And there's never been kind of a question what you can share or what. I mean, there's obviously when the company grows, unfortunately, there are things which you cannot share anymore. But in general, we are like sharing everything. So we have all hands meetings. You have all the quarterly reviews. You do have access to all the metrics, everything, so that you can make the best of the decision. And it's more actually the thing is that usually perception, they're just saying that perception is more important than reality, so that people perceive that you're transparent. Obviously, not everyone is going in and like checking your strategy or kind of the numbers, but they at least feel, hey, I'm part of the organization. And we've been one of the first ones which also gave stock options to the employees, and that also obviously helps in difficult times.
Absolutely. Kind of one of the last questions I have for you is, what tips would you give to some of the founders in the room in terms of like that resilience? Like what helped you to kind of build that and make those hard calls like quickly and early when you got into that situation? Because, you know, in hindsight, it's always easy to kind of come back, oh yeah, should have approached this that way. But when it happens so quickly, you get the news in the morning, like what's kind of the strategy and how do you put that in place?
I don't think you can give a tip, so I have to come back to the same Mike Tyson's kind of quote. So yeah, you can train for it, and then the real thing happens when you are hit in the nose, and then yeah, well, then you see how good you are or not. So I don't think you can really prepare for that. But I think the important part is, again, what we discussed a little bit, is that you actually are not giving up with the first round of difficulties or second round of difficulties, and it's never going to be. There's plenty of examples when you believe that all the companies have been going from strengths to strengths, and it's always like this, and always it's not like that. So what is written in the books and what you read somewhere, it's true. So it's going to be struggle. So you don't want to give up. But likewise, what I also do believe, there is a other side when you are maybe trying too hard on the thing which you should just let go, because apparently it doesn't work. So if it's like one thing after the other, then at some moment, like, just let it go. So that's also a skill which you, or at least mindset which you have to develop, that you cannot hang on forever for something which is maybe not working.
Yeah. Build that.
Life is short. Do like great stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your insights and for sharing your story. I hope that is helpful for some of the people in the audience here as well when they go through hard times with their companies, because for sure they're coming. But that I hope that you'll all come out on top, like Martin is doing with Mintos, and good luck to you and to the whole team. Enjoy the rest of Tech Chill, and thank you so much for your time.